Alright, so I'm just recording this just in case people lose signal or whatever. Alright, what you guys are going to be doing now is on Friday, you were supposed to do this. Actually, that's not it. It's this. Alright, so you were supposed to basically choose one of your ideas that you had, right? And then basically lay out those ideas out on a template, which is this. So you should have, yeah.
I have to take out my mom's stuff. I need to do something for my mom.
Alright, well, go ahead and do that. Alright, so you're supposed to list out the characters in the story. Here you would have put a little bit about their personality or maybe how they fall into the stories that's going to be told. This is going to be the main problem that the character would face. Then you were supposed to kind of think about in terms of your story, what's going to happen in the beginning of your story. This should have been a couple sentences. What's going to happen in the middle of your story, and then what happens at the very end of your story. Okay. So once you had done that, and if you finished that, you were supposed to kind of just start working on what your story was going to be about. What we're going to do today is kind of look at a technique that is just good for helping you develop your characters. So what you're going to do is you should have your characters already chosen, right? So these are the characters that you might have had in your story. You should have started writing it. So what we're going to do today is kind of just take the characters out of the story and put them in a new environment. So sometimes it's just useful to, I'm just going to create a new doc to do this. It's just useful to take the character out of their own general environment, put them somewhere else, and then look at how they behave. So what you need to do is we're going to basically just create a scene. So what you need to know first is what are scenes. And if you look here, this is just in here. You don't really need to open this. You can just look at it. Right? So if you want to look back at this when I'm done, you can. So what are scenes? Right? So scenes in a story, right? They're small moments. They're like mini stories, right? It's just like a little snapshot of what's going on. They include a clear setting, right? So that's where it's taking place. And you can kind of know that by the way it's described. And then they don't have to be doing all of these things, but they should be doing some of these things. So you see the characters thinking, you see the characters having dialogue, or you see the characters acting out things, right? And so sometimes it has all of this, sometimes it has like a couple of these, sometimes only one. And it should have sort of either why the character is behaving the way they're doing something, or they have some sort of problem that they're facing at it, right? So that's what a scene is, right? They're just like a little mini piece of a story. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna think of our character that we have in our story that you're gonna write, right? And it shouldn't be a realistic story about yourself. It should be fiction, right? So this is you taking your ideas from your own life, creating this new fictional story. Now I'm going to take that character and put them in a completely different environment that's not going to ever appear in my story, just to kind of flush out what's the character is all about. So when I was thinking about the story I wanted to generate, right, I was going to have this girl, um, and actually I was kind of torn if I want to do girl or boy. It doesn't really make a difference. So again, you just want to make sure that's not you, but you use your own life to kind of like figure it out. So I was thinking that, again, when I was thinking of ideas of what I could write about, was this kid who doesn't really fit in because they're biracial, and just like the obstacles that they face being biracial, and how they kind of like how that um, could lead to potential conflicts throughout their life, right? Or just difficult situations. So what I want to do is before I start writing is think about what characteristics I can give this character that would just lend to it. Right, so obviously you would have, again, all I'm doing first before I even write anything down is just write a list of characteristics. So you're going to eventually do this yourself. So let me just put list of characteristics. Give a second to type in. I'll make this bigger in a second so you can see it. So these are just like traits. Let me make it large so that it's big on your screens, guys. Let's go with, let's try 24. That's pretty big. All right, so list of characteristics. So again, the first one that I discussed already is obviously the fact that this character is biracial. And again, you can just be whatever you want, right? So again, I can make this story all kinds of different things. So I was going to put, let's go with, let's make this person Dominican. Okay, and we'll also make this kid, I don't know, Polish. Okay. Alright, so it's a Dominican Polish kid. It doesn't really make a difference what the race is. It can be whatever you want, whatever you think is going to kind of make the character interesting. What I'm also going to do is make this character, not only is this character dealing with just the biracial issues, maybe this character is like really quirky, right? So they're kind of like weird, right? They're quirky, they're strange in certain ways. Maybe they're also like nitpicky, right? So they're like kind of like have their own little strange little nuances. Um, Maybe this character has a stutter.
Wait, we have to do the characteristics of the person in the story?
Yeah, exactly. So this is you're not doing this yet. You're just looking at me do it, just so you can kind of like.
Wait, is it from the character like in our story or from our journal?
Yeah, so for the character from your story, so the story that you're going to write. So some of you guys already started your story. All I'm doing is listing out characteristics of this character, right? So that I can kind of like say, all right, so this is what I want this character to be like. All right, so it's Dominican, Polish, quirky, nitpicky, stutter, and let's kind of a key idea is this character is maybe lonely, right? So it's kind of like feels left out. Right, so these are kind of like the main ideas of what I want this character to have. Right, so again, I can make this girl. Let's make it a girl. It doesn't make a difference really, right? So she's a girl, right? So she's half Dominican, half Polish. She's quirky. She's very nitpicky. She's got a stutter, and she's lonely and feels left out. So I think when I was going to tell this story, you put this the girl that she wants to make friends, and because of her biracialness, her quirkiness, her nitpickiness, her stutter, she has difficulty making friends, right? So I was probably going to tell a story about her going maybe to a party and then what happens at the events of the party, but we're not going to do that now. What we're going to do is say, okay, that's what's going to happen. This girl's going to go to a party and she's going to have all kinds of drama because of it, right? But when I go to say, all right, now I want to know how this girl behaves, but I'm not putting her in the party. I want to put her somewhere else. Okay, so I'm going to put her in a different situation just so I can flush out what this girl is like in real life, right? So let's put her in her house. Okay, so how is this girl going to behave when she's in her house with her mom, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to start putting ideas down for how this girl behaves when she's in her house with her mother. All right, so let's say, let's give her a name. Let's give her a name too that's a little bit weird, right? So she's Dominican Polish. She's going to have a Polish name or something. So she's going to be called Svetlana. Okay, so this girl Svetlana is, let's see, make sure it's scrolling up for you guys too. I want you guys to be able to see this. Svetlana, okay, is sitting. Yep. At her kitchen table, watching her mother cook dinner. Okay? So this is just me beginning my story, taking her outside of that scene. So all I'm doing now, again, this is not the story that I'm going to write. This is me putting my character somewhere else, right? So she's not going to be in the story I write. Yeah. So you guys are just watching right now. You're not supposed to be like writing anything down. You're just looking at me kind of like form ideas so that when you guys go to do this, you'll have an idea. So these were my lists of characteristics that I had for the girl. Now I'm just starting her, just putting her in a scene that's different. Stop doing that. Okay, so Svetlana's sitting at the kitchen table, watching her mother cook dinner. And again, I want to make sure that some of these characteristics come out. So let's make her weird. So she goes, Mom, make sure you put extra hot sauce on my, let's say, whatever, pastelón or something. Right? Which is something she'd probably never be doing. Like, nobody's just going to be eating that with extra hot sauce on it. Okay? Her mother looks at her with a strange look in her eye. Right? So I also want to make sure that I make clear that her stutter is there. So you shouldn't be writing anything down. You should just be looking at this, guys. So again, I want to make sure her stutter is clear. So I
What
put
stutter?
what's that?
What's a stutter?
You guys don't know what a stutter is? A stutter is when
I know
someone
what a stutter
when someone
is.
speaks and they have difficulty controlling the pace at which they speak.
Mi-
So they like
Mimic.
so they do this, right? So that's kind of common.
Mister,
Yeah, that's a
I
stutter.
don't know what a stutter is.
No, you do.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically when someone, and it's usually a lot of people used to think like people who had stutters were like slow. It's actually kind of usually the opposite. So it's usually people who have a lot of ideas in their head, and because they have a lot of ideas in their head, they sometimes try to speak all their ideas too fast, and they wind up stuttering. Um, so yeah, all right. So her mother looks at her with a strange look in her eye, and then so we're gonna just have her stutter. So she's going, and again to emphasize the stutter, I just put like the M a couple times, mom, and then have her stutter this too. Did you hear me? Right, she's asking the mother about the. Actually, this should be next line. Mom, did you hear me? And then I'm gonna have
Mom, did you hear me?
exactly. Right, hold up, this stupid computer's nutty.
Mr. Rivera, don't you need to put like quotation marks on when she said, "Mom, make sure to put extra hot sauce on my pastelón," because that's what she said.
True. Correct. I missed that. Good call, my friend. Let's make that. And then just gotta indent this too. So this should be indented. Period here. Good. All right. So, did you hear me? Okay, and we'll have the mom reply. I don't know why this computer's so annoying and doing that every time I click. All right, so then we're gonna have the mother respond. Svetlana, you need to relax. Okay. Her mother tapped her on the shoulder. And smiled. Yeah. Okay. All right. So again, we have her stuttering. We have her being quirky. And then I want to kind of maybe talk a little about her loneliness and say something like, so Svetlana looked down at the table and thought to herself, nobody gets me. Right? So again, this whole process is me taking my character that I'm going to put in my story about her at a party and thinking, all right, so I want to really know what this character is like. How would she behave with her mom at her dinner table? And what would that interaction look like? So again, most of you guys didn't even start your story, right? Some of you guys might have had a little bit. So all you're going to do today is you're going to take your character that you have, it could be any character, take them out of your story, put them in a normal environment, and then how is that character going to behave? When you go to do that, make sure that you're looking at what actions can the characters do, what words can the characters say, and what thoughts might the character actually think. Right? So you want to kind of flush out what your character is like. So that's why it's kind of key when you guys were doing the hold on, where is it?
Wait, what if we have like more than one character?
You're just choosing one. It's only important to do one. If you want to put two characters somewhere else, that's fine. But it really should just be about making sure that you do it for one character. So again, this thing here where it says scenes, you guys can see this, right? I think I said share whole screen, right? So again, when you're looking at here at scenes, again, make sure you have a clear setting where this is happening when you go to do this. Make sure that you should try to do all three. What the character thinks, what the character says, and how they behave. And then try to, again, make sure you have a motivation for why or some obstacle, right? So at the end here, I kind of talked about this obstacle. This girl feels like nobody understands her. Again, you are not writing your actual story now. You're taking the character out of the story, putting them somewhere else, and then kind of like explaining how would the character behave. It doesn't have to be your main character either. So maybe you like are a little bit unclear of how you want one of your minor characters to behave. You're taking them out of the scene and then kind of like, flushing out what the character behaves like. And again, I'll keep this thing on so you guys can see it. So I'll leave it here so you guys can look at it. All right, does everybody kind of understand what they're doing? If you didn't finish this,
we're all doing this on the Google Doc named Scenes, right?
no, you're gonna just create a new doc.
Okay.
You cannot start that though until you do this. So this has to be done first. So if you didn't finish this, which I think most of you guys did finish it, this has to get done first. There's no way you can do that until you do this. All right, so make sure you finish this first. If you didn't start your story, that's okay. But this has to be done first.
So we're gonna add a new doc.
Yeah, it could be on any doc. You can attach
So
you can attach it to the scenes page. That's fine. But it's probably actually better if you do that. So when you go into here, open this, right, and then it'll say somewhere around here. It'll say like add doc or something. Make sure you do that. And then this is just a guide for what needs to be in it. Again, finish this thing first though. If you didn't finish this has to be done. Then when you're done with that, you're going to start working on what I just did. And also make sure you guys did what I had on the top. I close it. I think I wanted to close it.
Mr. What are you saying?
Yeah, I was saying something. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to share this video in 2 seconds. So again, make sure you do this top part first. Why isn't it going up and down? Hold on. This top part should be done first.
Mister, do you make like a small story with a character?
I can't hear you.
Mister, do you make a small story?
Yeah, it's a short story. Yep.
So like we can do whatever we want or not?
Yeah, and it could be whatever you want exactly. You can put you can have the character do it. Yeah, it can be anything.
Can I do like eating like going to somewhere for the first time or something?
Exactly. It could be like going to the mall, driving a car, washing dishes, mowing the lawn.
We list our characteristics.
Yeah, exactly. So what you should do first is figure out what characteristics you want the character to have, right? And once you have those characteristics, then you got to make sure that you kind of show some of these things in your scene. But again, make sure your scene has absolutely nothing to do with what you're actually going to have that character do in your story. Right? So the whole point is my character is going to be somewhere completely different than where they're going to actually be in my story. How is that character going to behave when I put them there? Understand? Everybody good? I feel like I'm losing people on the internet. All right, I'm going to save this thing. For this thing saved. Oh, great. You need to record. All right, guys. If you guys have questions, just let me know. This thing was supposed to record. I don't even think it did.